long before history took its first breath, a people rose from the cradle of rivers and deserts. In the ancient land we now call Iraq, between the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Sumerians built the blueprint of civilization itself. From around 45 to 19 centuries before Christ, they flourished in cities like Ur and Uruk, where stone, clay, and spirit were woven into one. On clay tablets that have survived the collapse of ages, they inscribed stories of knowledge descending from the heavens, tales of beings who shared wisdom that reshaped the destiny of humankind. Whether myth or memory, those lines reveal a people who saw themselves as students of the cosmos. They invented writing to give thought a permanent form. They counted the stars to understand time. They carved laws to bind society and carved canals to command the rivers. Their ziggurats, stairways of sun-baked brick, reached upward as if to bridge earth and sky. The Sumerians were not merely early builders. They were architects of human thought, laying the first stones of science, mathematics, and law. From their words and symbols flowed everything that would follow: empires, languages, and the maps by which we still chart the heavens. Before the pyramids, before the prophets, before the written histories of any other people, there was Sumer, the dawn that taught humanity how to rise. Among all the legacies left by the Sumerians, none stirs more fascination than their stories of the Anunnaki. Etched into clay thousands of years ago, these texts speak of powerful entities said to have descended from the heavens, bearers of immense knowledge who walked among humankind. Within those ancient lines, they are described as teachers, guiding early civilization in the arts of astronomy, mathematics, agriculture, and governance. And in each of these fields, the Sumerians indeed achieved an advancement that still astonishes modern scholars. Most historians regard such accounts as mythological in nature, metaphors woven to express the divine order of the universe or the mysterious forces of nature. Yet the precision and consistency of these depictions continue to invite reflection. To some researchers, the Anunnaki may represent deified ancestors or symbolic embodiments of cosmic principles. Others, more cautiously, suggest the stories could preserve faint echoes of encounters with older, now lost cultures, or even record memories of phenomena we still struggle to interpret. What makes these writings so compelling is not simply their content, but their coherence. The tablets exist, their translations are verified, and the knowledge they contain aligns strikingly with the scientific awareness of later ages. Whether these figures were imagined gods or distorted memories of real beings, remains unknown. What endures is the mystery itself, a whisper from humanity's earliest dawn, suggesting that our ancestors looked to the sky not merely with wonder, but with remembrance. And as archaeologists continue to unearth new fragments of Sumerian clay, the question deepens. Perhaps the Anunnaki were never meant to be understood as divine or mortal, but as something that stands between both, forever written in the dust of time. To understand the legend of the Anunnaki, one must first return to the world that birthed their story, the extraordinary realm of the Sumerians. Nearly 6,000 years ago, between roughly 45 and 19 centuries before Christ, a civilization blossomed in a region now known as Iraq. Its people transformed an unforgiving landscape into the foundation of human progress. Their homeland, Mesopotamia, literally the land between rivers, rested between the Tigris and Euphrates. Under a relentless sun, the Sumerians learned to bend nature to their will. Through intricate irrigation canals, they carried river water deep into the dry plains, coaxing life from desert soil. The result was a miracle of human ingenuity. Vast fields of grain, humming markets, and stone-walled cities rising from what was once dust. Among these were Ur, Eridu, and the fabled Uruk, one of the earliest great cities in recorded history, home to tens of thousands. Within its walls, priests, merchants, and craftsmen filled streets alive with trade, ceremony, and song. It was here that the pulse of civilization first began to beat. Around 32 centuries before Christ, the Sumerians invented the first known writing system, cuneiform, pressing wedge-shaped signs into wet clay. What began as tallies of grain and livestock grew into chronicles of laws, myths, and celestial observations. These tablets became humanity's first bridge from prehistory to history itself. Their brilliance reached far beyond words. They devised a mathematical system based on 60, still preserved in our minutes, hours, and angles, and charted the heavens with remarkable precision, long before telescopes ever existed. The ziggurats they built, monumental stepped towers of painted brick, soared above their cities like stairways toward the divine. The one at Ur still endures, a silent monument to their mastery of design and endurance. From wheeled carts to formal schools, from organized governance to the written word, the legacy of Sumer shaped the blueprint of civilization. Beneath layers of time, their story remains etched in clay, a record of how humanity learned to rise. In the ruins of the ancient city of Ur, archaeologists of the 1920s uncovered a royal cemetery unlike anything the modern world had seen. Beneath layers of sand and time lay chambers shimmering with gold, lapis, and carnelian. Necklaces, harps, and delicate figurines still whispering of a people whose artistry rivaled their intellect. These discoveries revealed that the Sumerians were more than engineers of progress. They were sculptors of beauty, weaving science, craft, and spirit into one civilization. Yet behind the brilliance of their inventions pulsed a deeper rhythm, a faith interlaced with every harvest and storm. To the Sumerians, each natural force carried a divine presence. The rivers had guardians, the winds had tempers, and fertility itself was a sacred covenant. Among their pantheon, one group of deities appeared again and again in their clay chronicles. The Anunnaki. These beings were described as descending from the heavens to guide and shape humanity. Not distant abstractions, but central figures within the tapestry of Sumerian belief. Thousands of tablets, now housed in museums across the world, portray them in meticulous detail, some recounting trade and law, others weaving cosmic sagas of creation, divine counsels, and celestial intervention. To scholars, these writings form a mosaic of myth and memory. The Anunnaki may have represented personified cosmic forces, ancestral rulers elevated to godhood, or echoes of contact with earlier, forgotten cultures. Whatever their origin, the stories remain hauntingly consistent. When the ancient word Anunnaki first appeared in translation, it drew the world's attention. Its meaning, those who came down from the heavens, or in some contexts, the princely bloodline, evoked wonder at who or what these figures might have been. According to Sumerian accounts, they dwelled in a realm beyond mortal reach, yet their influence touched every field of human endeavor. From this unseen height, they bestowed knowledge, offered guidance, and at times delivered judgment. Among them, 3 names rose above all others: Anu, the distant sovereign of the skies; Enlil, his formidable son, lord of air and command; and Enki, the wise master of water and creation. Anu reigned as a figure of order, observing from the heavens with a calm detachment. Enlil, fierce and uncompromising, governed storms and decrees, shaping the fate of humankind with both favor and fury. Ancient hymns attribute to him a great deluge sent to cleanse the world, a story that mirrors flood legends found from Mesopotamia to the pages of Genesis. Then there was Enki, the benevolent innovator. Guardian of knowledge, he was said to have taught humankind to till the earth, forge metals, and master the rivers. One legend tells of Enki guiding mortals in building the canals that transformed wasteland into a living garden. Archaeology confirms that such irrigation systems truly existed. Testimony to a civilization that turned drought into abundance. In the myth known as the Council of the Gods, these divine powers debate humanity's fate. Enlil, weary of human noise and defiance, resolves to summon the flood. Enki, moved by compassion, warns a chosen man and instructs him in the art of survival. It is a drama of rebellion and mercy, reflecting a timeless human question: how divine will and human resilience intertwine. What sets the Sumerian vision apart is its humanity. The Anunnaki are not emotionless immortals. They argue, grieve, and rejoice. They act with pride, envy, and love. Through them, the Sumerians projected the full spectrum of human feeling onto the vast canvas of the cosmos. Across Mesopotamia, tablets and reliefs show mortals standing before towering figures, offering gifts or receiving symbols of power. Some carvings depict objects that appear curiously mechanical: rods, discs, or devices whose purpose remains uncertain. Scholars debate whether these are ritual symbols, artistic metaphors, or stylized memories of technologies now lost. Each discovery adds nuance rather than certainty. The Sumerians' astronomical records, mathematical systems, and engineering achievements are undeniable. The source of their knowledge, less so. Most historians interpret the Anunnaki as mythic embodiments of natural law and divine hierarchy. Others wonder if fragments of real encounters, passed through generations, could have inspired the myths. Whatever truth lies behind the clay, the influence of these sky-born figures endured far beyond Sumer. Their stories echoed through Babylon and Assyria, then into Hebrew scripture and Hellenic lore. The Anunnaki, whether gods, symbols, or echoes of something real, remain the most enduring mystery of humanity's first civilization, a reminder that even at the dawn of history, our gaze was already fixed upon the stars. Among the most captivating enigmas surrounding the Sumerians is their extraordinary grasp of the heavens. More than 5 millennia ago, long before telescopes, lenses, or mechanical clocks, these ancient scholars charted the night sky with a precision that still defies easy explanation. Their tablets reveal detailed records of planetary paths, star positions, and recurring celestial cycles. Observations so exact that many have been confirmed by modern astronomy. Picture the world they knew: a silent desert plain beneath a canopy of infinite stars. Night after night, generation after generation, Sumerian observers stood under those skies, measuring time by the slow rhythm of planets crossing the firmament. What they achieved was far beyond simple stargazing. They distinguished Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn as wandering bodies, planets moving on their own courses through a fixed background of stars, an understanding that other cultures would not reach for centuries. Archaeologists have uncovered clay tablets engraved with this knowledge, records that describe the erratic dance of planets and the way each strayed from the predictable routes of the constellations. Among the most remarkable are texts devoted to Venus. The Sumerians recognized that the radiant morning and evening stars were the same celestial body, tracing its cycles with such care that their calculations still align with modern measurements. Their documentation of Venus's appearances and disappearances remains one of the earliest and most sophisticated astronomical data sets in human history. These accomplishments were not accidents of curiosity, but the fruit of a disciplined science built on mathematics. The Sumerians used a numerical system founded on the number 60, the sexagesimal system, which allowed them to divide circles, measure angles, and calculate fractions with exceptional accuracy. The same system still governs our minutes and degrees today. Hundreds of unearthed tablets bear witness to this union of math and sky. Tables predicting lunar eclipses, diagrams charting planetary conjunctions, and calendars harmonized with solar and lunar cycles. One of the most celebrated examples, the Venus tablet of Ammisaduqa, dating to around 16 centuries before Christ and rooted in older Sumerian tradition, records the planet's movements across nearly 2 decades. Its accuracy astonishes even modern astronomers who rely on digital models to achieve comparable precision. How could such sophistication emerge from a world without metal instruments or optical aids? Most historians offer a cautious, elegant answer: centuries of devoted observation. Sumerian scribes working in temple schools likely recorded nightly measurements, refining their calculations over generations until patterns of planetary motion became clear. This explanation fits the evidence, yet certain details still puzzle scholars. The precision of the Sumerian sky maps, their accurate delineation of constellations still recognizable today, seems almost beyond the reach of unaided eyes. Some researchers suggest that the Sumerians inherited fragments of their astronomical knowledge from even older cultures now lost to time. The ancient site of Göbekli Tepe, built nearly 12 millennia ago, hints at a deep human tradition of sky watching that may have flowed into later civilizations through forgotten migrations and cultural exchanges. Others look to the Sumerians' own myths, where divine teachers, the Anunnaki, descend from the heavens to gift humanity with wisdom in mathematics, architecture, and the study of the stars. Mainstream scholarship treats these accounts as allegories, reflections of a people seeking to understand the order of the cosmos. Still, The parallels between their mythic lessons and their real scientific achievements remain striking. Whether symbolic or inherited from ancient predecessors, the results were tangible. The Sumerians used their celestial insights to create the first known calendars, uniting the rhythm of the moon, the sun, and the wandering planets into a single system that guided harvests, festivals, and governance. Through clay and calculation, they transformed the night sky into a vast clock, a mirror of both the divine and the rational. Their legacy endures each time we divide an hour into 60 minutes, or glance upward at the same constellations they once traced in wet clay. The Sumerians were not merely watching the stars. They were teaching the world to measure time, to predict change, and to dream beyond the horizon of their age. The Sumerians' mastery of the heavens was not a pursuit of idle curiosity. It was the heartbeat of their civilization. Through their understanding of celestial cycles, they learned when the rivers would swell and when the fields would thirst. They timed their planting and harvests, their festivals and rituals, all according to the movements of the stars. In their world, astronomy was not an abstract science. It was survival, woven into the rhythm of life itself. The clay tablets they left behind remain astonishing. They record not only constellations and star paths, but the complex mathematics needed to predict eclipses and planetary alignments. Calculations so refined they still align closely with modern data. For historians, this precision remains one of the great enigmas of the ancient world. Tracking the stars by eye is one thing. Predicting their shifting patterns over years and generations is something else entirely. How did people living 5,000 years ago, without lenses or mechanical instruments, achieve such extraordinary accuracy? Most scholars point to patient, cumulative observation, centuries of careful record-keeping passed down through disciplined priest astronomers who charted the heavens night after night. It is a sober and reasonable explanation, one that honors the dedication and intellect of those early sky watchers. And yet, questions linger. The detail and consistency found across hundreds of tablets suggest a depth of knowledge that seems to have emerged fully formed rather than slowly evolved. Some researchers propose that the Sumerians may have inherited fragments of this wisdom from older, now lost cultures, knowledge preserved through memory, trade, or migration, long before recorded history began. This idea is known as cultural diffusion, the transfer of ideas and technologies across civilizations. It may explain why similar astronomical motifs appear in sites separated by thousands of miles and centuries. Perhaps the Sumerians did not begin the story of science, but continued a chapter already written by forgotten ancestors. Evidence from other archaeological discoveries hints at such continuity. High on a plateau in southeastern Turkey lies Göbekli Tepe, an ancient sanctuary built more than 11 millennia ago, predating the Sumerians by over 6,000 years. Massive stone pillars carved with animals and celestial symbols rise from the earth, aligned with remarkable precision to certain stars and solstices. When this site was first uncovered in the 1990s, it forced scholars to rethink what early humans were capable of. Its builders, once thought to be nomadic hunters, displayed architectural and symbolic sophistication far beyond their supposed time. Could the knowledge embodied in places like Göbekli Tepe have survived the millennia between its creation and the dawn of Sumer? It is impossible to know for certain. Yet the possibility lingers that the Sumerians inherited more than just fertile land. They may have inherited fragments of a far older understanding of the cosmos, passed like embers from an extinguished fire. What we can say with confidence is that the Sumerians transformed observation into system. They united the heavens and the earth through mathematics, turning celestial motion into a tool for governance and order. Their calendars dictated the flow of trade, agriculture, and ceremony. Their measurements defined the architecture of cities and temples. From sky to soil, everything followed the geometry of the stars. Whether this knowledge was born entirely from their own perseverance or carried from civilizations long vanished, the result was the same: a society that bridged the divide between myth and science, between worship and calculation. Each mark pressed into clay was both an act of devotion and a statement of reason, a record of how humanity first learned to read the sky as a text written by the gods themselves. The mystery endures, not only in the accuracy of their data, but in the elegance of their thought. The Sumerians looked upward and found meaning in motion, rhythm in distance, and purpose in the endless turning of the stars. Their legacy is more than ancient astronomy. It is the first whisper of humanity's desire to understand its place in the universe. It is possible that the brilliance of Sumerian science did not emerge in isolation. Civilizations rarely exist as islands. Ideas flow like rivers, crossing frontiers and blending into new forms. In the vast crossroads of ancient Mesopotamia, where Asia, Africa, and Europe converged, trade routes carried not only goods, but knowledge. Merchants, travelers, and storytellers from distant lands gathered in the markets of Ur and Uruk, exchanging more than spices and metals. Through these encounters, fragments of wisdom may have mingled, evolved, and taken root in Sumerian soil. Perhaps the architects of Mesopotamia did not invent their astronomy and mathematics from nothing, but assembled them piece by piece, drawing from a tapestry of cultures that stretched far beyond their borders. The world was older than we once believed, and its memory ran deep. In the highlands of Anatolia, the ancient stones of Göbekli Tepe rise from the earth like sentinels of an age long forgotten. Built more than 11,000 years ago, millennia before Sumer, it stands as a monument to human sophistication at a time once thought primitive. The carvings on its pillars suggest not only artistry, but symbolic intent, hinting at early forms of astronomical alignment. Could the legacy of such builders have endured through oral tradition, quietly resurfacing thousands of years later in the cities of Sumer? The question remains open, but the possibility cannot be dismissed. Within Sumer itself, mathematics flourished at a level that still astonishes historians. Long before Greek thinkers gave geometry its name, Sumerian engineers applied geometric principles to the construction of ziggurats and irrigation canals. They measured the angles of walls and the flow of water, calculating distances with an accuracy that would not be surpassed for centuries. To them, mathematics was not merely theoretical. It was sacred, a divine language that connected the heavens with the earth. Their mastery extended beyond practice into philosophy. In their myths, wisdom itself was portrayed as a celestial gift. The clay tablets often tell of the Anunnaki, beings described as descending from the heavens to teach humankind essential arts: astronomy, architecture, agriculture, and law. Mainstream historians interpret these stories as allegory, poetic metaphors for the dawn of civilization. Yet, the overlap between mythic teaching and archaeological reality is difficult to ignore. The Sumerians claimed that their knowledge was not discovered, but given. Their gods, they said, taught them to read the stars, to measure the earth, and to govern with order and precision. Whether those gods were symbolic personifications of natural forces or dim recollections of real encounters with more advanced cultures, the result was the same: a civilization that leapt centuries ahead of its time. Throughout human history, progress has often been born from exchange, ideas crossing from one culture to another, refined with each retelling. The Sumerians may have been both heirs and innovators, gathering remnants of knowledge scattered across an older world and reshaping them into something entirely new. Still, even within that framework, something about their precision remains uncanny. The planetary charts, the lunar calculations, the proportional harmony of their architecture all seem to suggest an insight deeper than mere observation. Some scholars argue that we may still underestimate the sheer patience and dedication of ancient observers. Others quietly wonder whether the Sumerians' own legends might hold distorted echoes of genuine events, moments when early humans encountered a level of knowledge so advanced it seemed divine. Such meetings, real or imagined, could easily have been immortalized as stories of beings descending from the heavens. To the cautious historian, these are myths, symbolic expressions of humanity's search for order. But even skeptics concede that myth often preserves a kernel of truth, reshaped by memory and time. Perhaps these stories remember more than imagination alone. Perhaps they record encounters, exchanges, or teachings that the sands of history have since buried. When viewed through this lens, the Sumerians' genius becomes part of a larger human narrative, a continuum of inherited wisdom stretching backward into forgotten epics. Their achievements may have been the flowering of knowledge cultivated by generations stretching beyond recorded history. And yet, as new discoveries like Göbekli Tepe remind us, the further we look into the past, the more our certainties fade. Each unearthed monument, each deciphered tablet, suggests that civilization's story is older and far stranger than we once believed. The Sumerians looked upward and saw a cosmos alive with meaning. Whether their teachers came from neighboring cultures, vanished civilizations, or simply from the limitless human drive to understand, their legacy endures. It whispers of a time when myth and science were one, and the boundary between heaven and earth was written not in stone, but in stars. Before imagination drifts toward shining disks and creatures from the stars, it is worth returning to the source. What survives of these ancient accounts are not visions of flashing lights in the sky, but lines of text pressed into clay, quiet, deliberate, and thousands of years old. Within them, the Sumerians spoke of beings called the Anunnaki, figures who descended from the heavens to instruct humankind in the sciences of life, agriculture, mathematics, architecture, and the ordering of cities. These tablets, unearthed from the ruins of Ur and Uruk, describe the Anunnaki not as fleeting deities, but as ever-present powers who walked beside humanity. They are portrayed with human form, yet endowed with extraordinary wisdom, builders and judges who shaped the destiny of the early world. In several epics, they advise on irrigation and urban design, with details so precise that modern engineers recognize the principles. One ancient composition, the Epic of Atrahasis, recounts celestial beings guiding humans in channeling rivers and managing the floods that sustained Mesopotamian life. Knowledge both practical and sacred. Another tale, Enki and Ninmah, speaks of the deliberate crafting of humankind, a poetic allegory of biological creation expressed in the language of myth. Whether these stories were meant as divine symbolism or encoded memory, their technical clarity remains striking. Across cultures, myths often serve as mirrors, reflecting complex truths in forms the mind can grasp. The Sumerian accounts might simply express reverence for discovery itself, casting scientific insight in divine form. Yet their consistency has invited centuries of speculation. Could these be recollections of real encounters with advanced societies now vanished from record? Or metaphors elevated into legend? In the 20th century, the discussion took a radical turn. A journalist named Zecharia Sitchin proposed that the Anunnaki were not gods at all, but travelers from a distant world, a planet he called Nibiru. He argued that these visitors arrived in remote prehistory, bestowing knowledge that propelled human civilization forward. His books reached millions and reframed the conversation about human origins. Mainstream scholarship, however, soundly rejects his claims. Experts in Sumerian language point out that Sitchin's translations deviate sharply from established lexicons, and that no authentic cuneiform text supports the idea of extraterrestrial teachers. Archaeologists and historians emphasize that the Sumerians themselves described the Anunnaki within a theological context consistent with other Mesopotamian pantheons, not as physical visitors, but divine manifestations of cosmic order. Still, Sitchin's ideas endured in popular imagination. They gave voice to a longing that extends beyond evidence, the desire to understand how humanity leapt so quickly from primitive settlements to complex urban societies. Even among orthodox historians, there remains acknowledgement of mystery. The Sumerians appear almost suddenly in the archaeological record, already literate, organized, and mathematically adept. The speed of that emergence continues to puzzle researchers. Some scholars offer a more terrestrial explanation. Civilizations advance not in isolation, but through contact. Ancient Mesopotamia lay at the meeting point of continents, a corridor of trade where cultures from Africa, Asia, and Europe converged. In such crossroads, even brief exchanges could spark revolutions in thought. Early Mesopotamians may have absorbed fragments of distant knowledge through merchants, migrants, or seafarers, refining them into the sophisticated sciences we now admire. Seen in that light, the Sumerians were neither disciples of gods nor recipients of alien intervention, but brilliant synthesizers, people who gathered the scattered insights of an older world and transformed them into something entirely their own. Yet, the myths of the Anunnaki endure precisely because they inhabit the space between wonder and reason. They remind us that humanity's oldest stories were attempts to explain the unexplainable, to place meaning within the vastness above. What began as lines on clay has become a conversation across millennia. How did knowledge first descend to Earth, and through whose hands? Whether the answer lies in trade routes, forgotten civilizations, or the poetic imagination of a people who gazed at the stars, the question itself continues to draw us upward, toward the same heavens the Sumerians once studied, searching for the origin of their light. In the ancient crossroads of Mesopotamia, the Sumerians built cities that glowed like constellations upon the earth. Yet one mystery remains. Could they have encountered a culture so advanced that its knowledge appeared divine? History records many moments when unfamiliar technology reshaped perception. When the first Europeans reached the Americas, their ships and steel seemed supernatural to those who saw them. To people unacquainted with such power, mortals could easily appear as gods. Perhaps something similar once unfolded in the valleys between the Tigris and Euphrates. An early meeting between emerging farmers and visitors from lands whose science seemed touched by the heavens. Sumer lay at the heart of an immense network of trade routes, linking Africa, Asia, and Europe. Caravans and sailors carried goods, stories, and ideas across deserts and seas. Within these encounters, fragments of knowledge, new tools, new measurements, new myths may have taken root. Over generations, such exchanges could have grown into the legends of luminous teachers descending from the sky. This possibility, grounded in the movement of cultures rather than the descent of gods, offers a rational path through the enigma. Yet even this perspective leaves questions unresolved. Certain Sumerian texts contain astronomical detail and symbolic precision that still defy simple explanation. Their authors insist that wisdom was taught from above, not discovered below. Whether that phrase was poetic, spiritual, or historical remains uncertain, suggesting that extraterrestrial visitors influenced early civilizations is a step beyond evidence. But history has often overturned certainty. Only a few decades ago, few believed that an organized culture could have existed 12 millennia ago, until the discovery of Göbekli Tepe proved otherwise. Its vast stone circles and celestial alignments remind us that civilization's story is far older and more complex than once imagined. Somewhere within that long, uncharted span, the seeds of Sumerian genius were sown. Among the artifacts that keep this debate alive is a small cylinder seal, catalogued as VA 243. Some enthusiasts claim it depicts the solar system with surprising accuracy. Sun at center, planets encircling it, created in an age without telescopes. Scholars, however, caution restraint. The seal's symbols are open to multiple interpretations and may represent deities rather than astronomical diagrams. Still, its very ambiguity captures the tension between imagination and evidence, faith and science that defines this mystery. What is certain is that the Sumerians saw knowledge itself as divine. Their myths tell of beings who descended to share the arts of civilization, astronomy, agriculture, and city building. To modern eyes, these stories blur the line between revelation and remembrance. Perhaps they record encounters with travelers from unknown regions, still human, yet generations ahead in skill. Or perhaps they are metaphors, visions of enlightenment cast in the language of stars. Historians approach these tablets like fragments of a vast, broken puzzle. Thousands have been unearthed, yet countless others remain buried or lost. Each bears signs of weather, fire, and time. Translating them is no simple task. Unlike living tongues, Sumerian has been silent for 4,000 years. Many words hold shades of meaning that shift with context. A single mistranslation can transform a metaphor into a myth, or a myth into a mystery. This uncertainty fuels debate. Some scholars interpret phrases describing the Anunnaki descending from the heavens as literal references to the sky, while others argue the words denote royal lineage or divine authority. Each reading reshapes the narrative. Into this linguistic fog stepped Zecharia Sitchin, whose 20th century books proposed that the Anunnaki were visitors from a planet he called Nibiru. His vision captured the public imagination, painting ancient Mesopotamia as humanity's first encounter with beings from beyond the stars. Professional linguists and archaeologists, however, find little support for such claims. Comparative analysis of authentic cuneiform shows that Sitchin's interpretations diverge sharply from established grammar and meaning. To academic consensus, the Anunnaki belong firmly within Mesopotamian theology, not astronomy. Still, his ideas endure, perhaps because they speak to something deeper than proof. Our enduring fascination with origins and the unknown. Behind the controversy lies a simple truth. The historical record of Sumer is incomplete. We possess fragments, not a full chronicle. What remains hints at remarkable intelligence and a worldview where science and spirituality were one. Their astronomers read the heavens with astonishing precision. Their mathematicians built the foundations of geometry long before Pythagoras. Their myths sought meaning in every calculation. Archaeology continues to unearth new pieces of this cosmic puzzle. Each tablet recovered, each word deciphered, pushes the boundary between legend and fact. Whether the Sumerians learned from travelers, inherited wisdom from forgotten ancestors, or dreamed their gods into being. Their legacy endures as a testament to humanity's oldest pursuit, the search for knowledge beyond the horizon. Among the countless enigmas left by the Sumerians, none has stirred more debate than their apparent knowledge of the heavens, knowledge that, in some interpretations, hints at awareness far beyond what ancient eyes could see. Certain tablets, examined by modern translators such as Zechariah Sitchin, appear to describe a mysterious celestial body, a distant planet, sometimes called Nibiru, moving in an orbit far beyond the reaches of our known solar system. Astronomers today remain united in their rejection of this claim. No credible evidence supports the existence of such a world. And yet, the Sumerians did record celestial phenomena that align uncannily with discoveries confirmed only thousands of years later. Their star maps and planetary lists continue to puzzle researchers who cannot easily reconcile such precision with the technology of the 4th millennium BC. Even those who firmly dismiss extraterrestrial theories acknowledge that the tablets contain genuine mysteries. The accuracy of lunar calendars, planetary cycles, and solar predictions carved into clay remains difficult to dismiss as coincidence. Without lenses, clocks, or telescopes, how could ancient sky watchers produce measurements that rival early modern astronomy? Most historians explain this as the culmination of endless observation, a science of patience developed across centuries. Still, a quiet unease lingers. The Sumerians' mathematical complexity, their uncanny precision, and their insistence that knowledge descended from the heavens all combine into a portrait both admirable and perplexing. Within academia, there is often caution when confronting ideas that challenge established timelines. Scholars rely on tangible evidence, artifacts, inscriptions, verifiable data. Anything beyond that risks slipping into speculation. This conservatism is not conspiracy, but discipline, born from the need for proof. Yet history reminds us that excessive caution can sometimes obscure discovery. When Göbekli Tepe emerged from the Turkish soil in the 1990s, it shattered assumptions about when complex societies began. For decades, the very notion of monumental architecture in a world of hunter-gatherers seemed impossible, until it stood revealed, 11,000 years old and geometrically precise. The shock was not that it existed, but that no one had thought to look for it. Might other revelations still lie buried beneath Mesopotamian sands, waiting to revise the story once more? This tension between skepticism and wonder runs through the entire history of archaeology. Unusual evidence is often set aside until it can be verified. Yet some of humanity's greatest insights began as anomalies. Many ideas, first dismissed as fringe, have, with time and evidence, become accepted truth. The lesson is humility. Certainty in science must always leave space for surprise. To the Sumerians, their myths were never idle tales. These stories formed the framework of their civilization, woven into laws, rituals, and even the rhythms of agriculture. They did not separate faith from function. The gods who governed the stars also governed the floods. Their belief in the Anunnaki as teachers and cosmic guides was integral to how they understood order in the universe. It may reflect a memory, historical or symbolic, of transformative contact with others, magnified over time into celestial narrative. Consider their mathematics, a marvel of logic born 5,000 years ago. The Sumerians built their calculations upon the number 60, creating what modern scholars call the sexagesimal system. It allowed them to divide circles, predict eclipses, and balance equations with breathtaking elegance. To us, 60 might seem arbitrary, but its versatility made it a universal key. 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, 360 degrees around a circle, all descendants of that ancient logic. Was this brilliance purely their invention? Perhaps. But knowledge is rarely born in isolation. Just as Greek geometry drew upon Egyptian measurement, and Egyptian architecture upon older traditions, Sumerian mathematics may have evolved from exchanges with forgotten cultures, predating recorded history. Civilizations are cumulative. Each builds upon the fragments left by the last. The idea of lost precursors is no longer radical. Archaeology has shown that human sophistication extends far deeper into prehistory than once assumed. The ziggurats of Sumer rose from a continuum of innovation, one that may have included builders whose names time has erased. So why does mainstream research often hesitate to probe these deeper possibilities? Partly because science demands restraint. Without direct evidence, conclusions remain speculation. Yet another factor may be the immense implications of rewriting the narrative of civilization itself. Adjusting a timeline is not a simple correction. It reshapes centuries of established theory, textbooks, and institutional frameworks. And yet, progress in understanding always begins with discomfort. The Sumerians themselves believed that knowledge arrived only through questioning the divine order. Today, our quest follows the same path, challenging boundaries, testing inherited truths, and refusing to let mystery fade into dogma. Perhaps the story of Nibiru is not about a hidden planet, but about the courage to imagine the unknown. It symbolizes humanity's instinct to reach beyond accepted limits, to look upward and wonder whether the cosmos still holds secrets as profound as those first recorded in clay. Beneath the deserts of Mesopotamia, countless tablets remain untouched, their inscriptions unread. Each could add a line to this unfinished chronicle. Whether they confirm the myths or dissolve them, they remind us that the pursuit of truth is never static. The story of Sumer is not simply the past. It is the beginning of an ongoing question about who we are and how far our ancestors may already have reached toward the stars. Across the ruins of ancient Sumer, the winds still whisper through broken temples and silent ziggurats. Each grain of sand carries a fragment of the story we've been trying to remember. A story written not only in clay, but in the stars above. The Sumerians called themselves the people of the black-headed ones, children of the gods who taught them to measure the heavens and master the earth. Whether those gods were divine, symbolic, or once human, their legacy endures in every word, every number, every dream humanity has ever dared to record. Thousands of years have passed since the last Sumerian looked up at the night sky. Yet the same constellations still burn overhead. Their patterns have not changed, only our understanding has. We continue to search those same skies for origins, for meaning, for company. Perhaps what the Sumerians began was not merely civilization, but a question, one that has echoed across millennia. Where did we learn to look beyond ourselves? The answer may never come from a single discovery or translation. It may live instead in the delicate thread connecting every generation that dared to wonder. From the first Sumerian astronomer tracing Venus across the dawn, to the modern scientist mapping galaxies billions of light years away, the impulse is the same: to reach for the unknown, and so the mystery of the Anunnaki remains, not as proof of alien gods, but as a mirror reflecting the vastness of human curiosity. Perhaps these stories were never about beings from the stars, but about the stars within us, the imagination that compels us to build, to question, and to seek truth in the dark. Our journey doesn't end here. Beneath the sands, beneath the oceans, beneath forgotten myths, countless secrets still wait, and every discovery brings us closer to the realization that history is not something that happened long ago. It is something still unfolding, written in the language of wonder.